Tuesday Seventh-day Adventists, a revival of original Adventism and ancient Christianity, presents Escape for Thy Life.
Gracious Reverend Father, be with us as we enter into this program. Help everyone to be blessed and to see the truth about vaccination, that your name may be glorified. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Well, today we want to talk about the dangers of vaccination. The dangers of vaccination. And we know that the government of Trinidad and Tobago and other governments have been telling us that vaccination is safe. That vaccination is safe. We as a church believe in a clean vaccine and safe vaccination. But what they have been telling us is not safe vaccination. There are many evidences of people losing their lives, people being crippled, people being on a permanent bed of affliction through vaccination. This the media doesn't report, and the government of this country don't even have a vaccine adverse effects reporting system so that we will know how much people get plenty damage through vaccination. There is not even a means here in this country to take a case before the people, the corporation that are responsible for producing those vaccines, which have endangered a lot of our lives. Not just only that, we can't even sue the government who often force vaccination upon us. In this program, we want to give you some real facts that you won't hear in the mainstream media about vaccination. And we have with us here two representatives from Tuesday Seventh-day Adventists, Sister Anissa from St. Vincent, Tuesday Seventh-day Adventists in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Sister Alyssa from Tuesday Seventh-day Adventists in Trinidad, who recently went to a vaccine conference. And this vaccine conference showed a lot of damage that took place upon people from vaccination. Now we want them to say something. Sister Anissa.
Yes, so as the brother was saying, we recently attended the 4th annual International HPV Vaccine Education Symposium in Chicago, Illinois. And this was a very important vaccine symposium talking about the HPV or human papillomavirus vaccine, which was introduced in 2006 and has been given to thousands of girls around the world. But it is a total scandal because the amount of damage it has done to the lives of young women, it is just horrific. And at this conference, we had scientists and doctors from all over the world, from France, from Australia, from India, from Canada, from America, from Denmark, from Israel, from Mexico, from Colombia, and they were all reporting scientific facts and social circumstances of young women who have been injured by the HPV vaccine Gardasil and Cervarix.
Well, good day to all. What I would like to let you know is that we are in a country and there is not enough education being done concerning vaccines and vaccine injury. We are commonly told by the Ministry of Health vaccines are safe and effective, and there is no, as Brother Medina rightly said, there is no adverse event reporting system to be able to determine if a vaccine was in fact safe and effective or not. As such, we urge many cases around the world where babies, men and women, old and young, who have received vaccines and have received terrible, crippling effects of the body. And we urge you to please do not urge us to be forced into receiving vaccinations, but that we should have vaccine choice. We urge the public, we urge the Minister of Health to allow us to have a discussion whereby we could look at the vaccines. Do we look at having independent laboratory systems to be able to test the vaccines that come into Trinidad and Tobago to determine if what we are getting from these vaccine pharmaceutical companies, is it really what they say in the vaccines that we are really getting? And what are the side effects that come as a result of having these vaccines? We are speaking to you, urging you, Dr. Terence Dayal Singh, the Minister of Health, we really need to sit down and have this conversation, because we do not want the future of our children, Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Caribbean and worldwide, to have to be under 24/7 care, or in some cases dead as a result of having received vaccination.
That's right.
This brings us to a request based upon what Sister Jason just said. We ask the government to set up laboratories in this country to check every batch of vaccines, no matter what type, that comes into this country, to put into the bodies of people. You need to have a laboratory to check and see what is in those vaccines and if they are safe. The Kenyan government found properties in a vaccine that were given to people that actually sterilizes women.
Yes.
And there are a number of other people who have found retroviruses in vaccines, deadly viruses in vaccines that are supposed to get rid of viruses.
Yes.
So we need to know what is going on. The government needs to enlighten people also about another important thing that Sister Jason and Sister Lisa referred to, and that is vaccine choice.
Yes.
Different ways have been found to force vaccination upon people, whether it's the children can't go to school,
That's right.
or by fining people and so on. We are saying, this is your body. Your body is your private property, not given to you by the state, given to you by God. Therefore you have charge over your body. And you could refuse vaccine if you want.
Yes.
Now if they say you will endanger the public, remember the other people are taking, not supposed to give you any diseases. So if you get it on your own and you die on your own. Unless you have alternative cures. And we do have alternative cures. But what we want the government to do is to make sure that people's freedom are held intact when it comes to vaccination. And if you want to stop a child from going to school from vaccination, and then when people keep their children home, you want to blame them for keeping the children from education, it's your fault. Because you want to force vaccination upon children, and when they do get harmed, and they do, as this film will show you, when they do get harmed, you, the government, can't rescue them and can't help them.
And Brother Medina, one of the evils also is the fact that governments should not even have laws pinning financial penalties on persons if they don't vaccinate before they register for school. Here's why I say this. The very manufacturers of the vaccine, they have leaflets that the vaccine comes in the box the vaccine comes in, and they say in the leaflets that each patient should read the leaflet before they take the vaccine. In that leaflet, you have cautions, you have warnings, you have risks and side effects, and it's telling you, for example, if you're allergic to the ingredients, don't take it. So if a parent gets this information and reads it and determines, based on the risk outlined, based on the cautions, that they don't want their child to take this vaccine, why should a government enforce the taking of the vaccine as a prerequisite to enter into school? It is wrong. It is fraudulent. It's against the rights of the people. It's against their freedom of choice, their freedom of conscience, their freedom of opinion. And furthermore, the fact that usually the clinics and the hospitals do not give the patients the leaflets, the product information leaflet and the patient information leaflet, that in itself is causing the person not to have information to be able to make an informed decision. And that goes against their right to self-determination. It is wrong. You need to give the parents the information. Let them determine if they want to take the risk involved. For example, the MMR vaccine, the information plainly shows in the leaflet that one of the side effects of MMR vaccine is getting measles itself. When a patient reads this and decides, well, I don't want to get measles, vaccine strain measles, so I'm not going to take it, why should you force it upon the 12-month-old and the 4 or 5-year-old who's entered the primary school? It's wrong.
So wait, let me get this clear.
Yeah.
Did you hear what she just said? One of the side effects of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is getting the measles itself.
That's right. And
A strain from the vaccine itself.
yes. And don't talk about
So
the
the side
ingredients.
effects, one of the side effects
Is
getting the measles, of which the vaccine is supposed to stop.
Exactly.
And the government don't ever tell you that. They
They
don't ever
don't.
let you know that.
They don't.
You see, we are always put in a situation to be the dumb, exploited people. Why don't they take the slip from the box that the vaccine comes with
Yes.
and read it out in the schools?
Yes.
In this film, we're going to show you an example of it,
That's right.
that you will see what we are talking about. Why does the government show people this? To save people from going into this kind of vaccination where they don't want to. Now, people will want to get vaccinated. That's them if they want to do it. But what about those who don't want to do it?
Exactly.
They can't force it upon them. So we are not anti-vaccine, but we believe in a clean vaccine.
Amen.
But you don't know if the vaccine is clean if there's no laboratory and testing to verify.
That's right.
And
That's
therefore
right.
we don't want to take the risk of putting things in our bodies we have no evidence is safe.
That's right. That's right.
We are not supposed to trust in the Minister of Health. We are supposed to trust in facts and in science with regards to the vaccination. And if you can't provide that to us, we can't follow. We can't comply. We stand before God as conscientious people, and we stand there for freedom, and we will not relent from this freedom. Hey, if we had to go to jail, so what? We have people go to jail for less than that. And we serve in God, and we believe we have to endure for His sake.
Yes.
So,
Amen.
the government, you need to get a testing facility. You need to stop forcing people. You need to give people information that they will make the right decision before it is too late.
Amen.
Do any of the vaccines on the childhood schedule contain monkey kidney cells?
Well, the polio vaccine does.
Are you aware of any simian, monkey, viruses, meaning viruses that come from primates, that contaminated polio vaccines and infected individuals receiving the polio vaccine?
Yes, SV40,
Okay. And what does SV40 stand for?
simian virus 40.
Okay. And was it the 40th simian virus found? Is that why
Yes.
it's called? Are you aware of any virus from any animal other than simian or bovine that is in any vaccine?
Yes, there's a pig virus present in one of the rotavirus vaccines, circovirus.
Do any of the vaccines in the childhood vaccine schedule contain blood serum from calves or other bovines?
Calf serum is removed before the vaccine is used because you don't want to sensitize the vaccinee to cows.
What is this?
Vaccine excipient and media summary.
Can you go to Kinrix on the first page?
Yes.
DTaP IPV. Do you see in the third line down, it says calf serum? Do any vaccines on the childhood schedule contain embryonic guinea pig cell cultures?
Varicella vaccine was passaged in guinea pig cells.
Do you know if any vaccines contain cow's milk in it? Derived from
Oh,
cow's
well,
milk?
it could be, casein, for example, could be.
If there was casein in the vaccine, the child could become sensitized to that, correct?
Well, I'm not sure about that.
You're not sure anymore about that? Do any vaccines contain egg protein?
Yes, influenza.
Do any vaccines contain gelatin from pigs?
Yes.
Do any vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain human albumin?
Oh, yes.
What is human albumin?
Human albumin is part of human serum. It's part of the blood that is liquid.
None of it remains in the final product.
I don't believe so, no.
Because that could be problematic, right?
Well, it could be. I mean, if the individual is not healthy.
Or if maybe some of the human blood components bind to some of the aluminum and develop antibodies, self-antibodies, correct?
If they develop antibodies against a serum component, that would not be good.
Do any vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain MRC5 human diploid cells?
Yes, rubella, varicella, hepatitis A.
What are MRC5 cells?
They are human fibroblast cell strain. They were created by taking fetal tissue and from a particular fetus that was aborted by maternal choice, and the cells, the so-called fibroblast cells, were cultivated.
Do any vaccines on the childhood vaccine schedule contain WI38 human diploid lung fibroblasts?
Well, they used to, but I don't think anything is made in those cells anymore.
If you could turn to page 3 for MMR and MMRV, do you see that within the ingredient list that lists WI38 human diploid lung fibroblasts?
Yes, I do see that.
Isn't it true that human DNA in vaccines is typically purposely fragmented?
Yes, and I would say mostly for theoretical reasons, doesn't want to put DNA into intact DNA into vaccines.
You familiar with insertional mutagenesis?
Yes.
Do you have any study to show that injecting millions of pieces of human DNA into babies and children is safe?
The only studies are all the safety studies that have been done on vaccines.
Wasn't the purpose of this study to help develop a human cell line or to support the use of human cell lines in the creation of vaccines?
The idea was to study the cell strains from fetuses to determine whether or not they could be used to make vaccines.
This study involved 74 fetuses.
76.
76. Mm-hmm. And these fetuses were all 3 months or older when aborted, correct?
Yes.
What organs did you harvest from these fetuses?
Well, I didn't personally harvest any, but a whole range of tissues were harvested by co-workers.
Okay. And these pieces were then cut up into little pieces, right?
Yes.
And they were cultured?
Yes.
Okay. Some of the pieces of the fetuses were pituitary gland that were chopped up into pieces to, okay, included the lung of the fetuses?
Yes.
Okay, included the skin?
Yes.
Kidney?
Yes.
Spleen?
Yes.
Heart?
Yes.
And tongue?
I don't recall, but yeah, probably yes.
Are you aware that one of the objections to vaccination by the plaintiff in this case is the inclusion of aborted fetal tissue in the development of vaccines and the fact that it's actually part of the ingredients of vaccines?
Yeah, I'm aware of those objections. The Catholic Church has actually issued a document on that which says that individuals who need the vaccines should receive the vaccines regardless of the fact, and that I think it implies that I am the individual who will go to hell because of the use of aborted tissues, which I am glad to do.
Okay. Do you know if the mother is Catholic?
I have no idea.
Okay. So,
But she should consult her priest.
do you believe that someone can have a valid religious objection to refusing a vaccine?
No.
Do you take issue with religious beliefs?
Yes.
You have said that, quote, vaccination is always under attack by religious zealots who believe that the will of God includes death and disease.
Yes.
You stand by that statement?
I absolutely do.
Okay. Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay. Do you accept that some people hold religious beliefs that are inherently unprovable?
Yes, I'm sure they do.
When you were a child, what vaccines did you receive?
Diphtheria. In childhood, I think it was probably only diphtheria.
Dr. Suzanne Humphreys is a highly educated specialist in internal medicine and nephrology. She worked as a kidney specialist when she started questioning the safety of vaccines. She saw cases of kidney failure shortly after patients had been vaccinated during the flu season. After a lot of research, she wrote a book together with Roman Bystrianyk called Dissolving Illusions, Disease, Vaccines and the Forgotten History. We met her during a lecture tour in Scandinavia and started by letting her explain the method of vaccination.
Well, vaccination is an attempt to expose the body to a hopefully benign form of the disease so that the body can respond as if it were infected with the disease without getting sick, and then can hopefully have memory of that infection for the future if it is exposed to the actual natural infection. The problem is that vaccines do not come into the body by and large the same way as the natural infection does. For instance, measles is inhaled, but the vaccine is injected. That means that it has an exposure to the nervous system much more quickly through injection than it would through the normal inhalation and processing of the lymphatic system. Also, the vaccines don't just contain little bits of the bacteria or the virus or an inactivated virus. It also contains other chemicals, which the natural disease would not have.
And do you think this idea of vaccination, do you think that this is working? Do you think that this is a good method of keeping a population healthy?
You have to define working first, okay? Some people consider working means that you've suppressed a disease in a population. Some vaccines do work by that definition, but no vaccines increase the health of a population because vaccines do not increase the health of a human. There's nothing in a vaccine that our bodies actually require. We don't require aluminium, we don't require mercury, polysorbate 80, we don't require formaldehyde, and those are some of the things that are commonly in vaccines. So there's no nutritive effect of a vaccine. So I don't believe that vaccines create health in a population. And I believe that there are always better ways to deal with diseases in a population than vaccinating anybody.
Now, the pro-vaccine people, they say that with the vaccine, a number of diseases just disappeared from populations. How do you react to that?
Well, I would have to address each vaccine that they claim this to be true for. And I have gone through and looked at the smallpox history. And what we find with smallpox is that, first of all, that there was a town in England called Leicester. And that was a town that was highly vaccinated. And they were still having epidemics of smallpox and death from smallpox. That town decided to stop vaccinating. They were warned that they were going to set a bonfire of disaster upon the earth because they stopped vaccinating. But what happened was that their disease rates declined, as did their death rates from smallpox decline. So that is an example that shows you that stopping vaccinating actually can improve the disease in the population. And that I looked at smallpox first because that's the disease that most people say was eradicated by vaccines. but only 5 to 10% of the Earth's population was ever vaccinated for smallpox. And it was done during a time when there was lots of sanitation occurring, which meant that there were fewer rodents and insects around that were able to carry the disease from person to person. It meant that people's immune systems were improved because of better nutrition and child labor laws. So there were lots of things occurring during this period when smallpox disappeared. However, now, back during the time of smallpox, there was chickenpox, monkeypox, goatpox, horsepox. There were all kinds of pox that looked identical, were very difficult to tell apart. We still have monkeypox on the planet. So many of these pox diseases that we all lump together because we didn't have genetic testing, we still have these diseases. If you look at a person, a victim of monkeypox, it looks just like smallpox. So the question is, did we really eradicate smallpox? And I have my doubts about that. Okay, so let's get back to tetanus, because we're often told that once we gave this vaccine, we saw this enormous drop in death and cases, and we're shown this graph here. And it really does look like, the tetanus vaccine came in around here, and look, we have this ski slope coming down. But the problem is, and this is how you'll be shown by the public health authorities, all the vaccines' success. They don't show you the whole graph. Here's what happens when you look at the whole graph. We can see that it was already coming down, and then it came down further. But look at how much more dramatic it was in England and Wales. We can see that the decline in incidence of mortality is here, and the vaccine came in here, and we actually see it come up a little bit after the vaccine came in. And this is the same thing in Canada. We see that the death rate from tetanus, they only started reporting cases here, but we can see the death rate was just precipitously falling. And this is the year the vaccines came in. And again, we see for some strange reason an increase right there. But we can't say that we have tetanus vaccines to thank, because the trend was already seriously coming down.
Now, my dear sister, would you say something in closing?
Yes. In closing also, apart from calling for independent laboratory testing of these vaccines, we also need to pursue the natural remedies that exist. Because in the case of the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, it has been proven since 1932, and the World Health Organization and the CDC in America, the Center for Disease Control, they've already indicated that high doses of vitamin A and vitamin D have been proven to cure measles, to cure complications of measles. People don't have to die from measles, and you don't need a vaccine for measles. These things have been proven in testings and studies. So pursue the natural health remedies and help our people to get better, not to get more sick from these vaccines and their terrible complications.
That the mainstream media wouldn't tell you, sister.
And in closing, what I would like to say also is that the government, if they are so interested in the health of the people, should invest in ways, apart from the natural remedies, but to find ways to help build the immune system of the individual, so that if they are in fact exposed to the various strains of whatever diseases, that they can therefore have their immune system strong enough to be able to fight it off. We don't need a vaccine for that. God has given us immune systems, and we need to take care of our bodies to be able to fight off the diseases naturally. And lastly, what I would also like to say is that in the case where the government, you all want to push these vaccinations mandatory, do you have any idea who is actually allergic to the ingredients in the vaccines? What testing has been done? What screening has been done? There has been none. To continue in a mindset like that is to fail the people. But we believe in vaccine choice, and we urge you to please consider what we are saying here, so that we could really fight for the rights and freedoms of individuals, that all may have vaccine choice.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. And in closing, my dear people, in closing, everything that was said here for the good of society, for the good of everyone. We stand by our position, but we want you to to recognize the evidences we have shown you on this film, and we want you to act on it. You have the right, you have the freedom. Protest for your security,
Amen.
protest for your safety, and refuse to do what is against your conscience.
Amen.
In the end, we will be all judged by God. And we don't want to be judged as people who comply with something we have no evidence is safe for our bodies. So may God bless you as you make the right decision and as you follow the facts as you see on this program. In Jesus' holy name, amen.